hold on tight, because this story doesn't start quietly. It starts with a door finally opening inside Buckingham Palace, a door that stayed firmly shut for years. Behind it, according to sources who know exactly what happened, the Crown has approved something very serious. Not a warning, not a temporary measure, but final orders that will permanently change the future of two children forever. These orders affect Archie Harrison and Lilibet Diana, the children of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. For years, people wondered if the palace would ever speak. The world waited, watched, whispered, and guessed. But Buckingham Palace said nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that silence became its own mystery. But now the silence has broken. The royal institution, the same one that runs entirely on rules, duty, and centuries of history, has quietly moved forward to erase Archie and Lilibet's place within the royal structure. According to insiders, the palace has chosen to remove their claim to royal identity completely. No ceremonial titles, no recognition as future heirs, no position in the line of succession, not even a small mention in the official records that tell the story of the monarchy. And here's the part that makes this so shocking. The palace did not announce this on television. They did not call a press conference. They did not send out formal invitations or blow royal trumpets. They simply filed the documents, coldly, silently, and finally. Why? Because for the monarchy, this isn't emotional. It isn't personal revenge or punishment. It's something far more powerful. Protocol. To understand why the Crown acted now and why this move is permanent, we must travel back in time, more than 100 years. Back to a king who shaped the royal family's entire identity with a single document that still controls the royal bloodline today. That is where the real story begins. To truly understand what happened to Archie and Lilibet, we need to step into the year 1917. The world was at war. Empires were collapsing. Kings were fighting to keep their nations stable. And inside Buckingham Palace, King George V made a decision that would echo through the entire next century. He signed what became known as the Letters Patent of 1917. A set of royal rules so strict and so precise that even modern royals are still fully bound by them today. These rules answer one fundamental question. Who is truly royal? Not who feels royal. Not who is popular. Not who has a famous parent. But who is officially recognized by the Crown as a prince or princess. King George V created 3 requirements, 3 boxes that must be checked without any exception. 1. Legitimate royal bloodline. The child must come from the royal family in a way the Crown officially recognizes. 2. Official birth registration with the Crown. The birth must be documented according to royal standards. Witnessed, verified, and recorded in the royal archives. 3. Connection to the Church of England. A royal christening is not decoration or tradition. It is a legal and spiritual seal that ties the child permanently to the monarchy. These laws were designed to protect the Crown from confusion, manipulation, and political threats. They were created to guard the royal bloodline as tightly as possible. And for over 100 years, these rules worked without fail. No shortcuts, no exceptions, no bending. Now fast forward to today, to Harry and Meghan's children. When palace officials looked at Archie and Lilibet, they didn't see scandal or drama or interviews. They saw a simple, strict checklist. And sources say that checklist had cracks. Cracks that could not be ignored under the 1917 rulebook. Which brings us to the first problem, a problem that began the very moment Archie entered the world. Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor was born in 2019. At first, everything looked completely normal. Royal fans celebrated. News outlets announced the birth. Harry and Meghan smiled for cameras, holding their new baby. It seemed like a perfect royal moment. But deep inside the paperwork, the place where the palace pays the most careful attention, something strange happened. Archie's birth certificate, originally filled out with Meghan's full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, was suddenly changed, not corrected, not updated, rewritten. Her entire name was removed and replaced with Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. That is not normal. Birth certificates are not branding tools or fashion statements. They are legal records, permanent documents that help determine a child's rightful place in history. Meghan said she never approved the change. She claimed the palace forced it. The palace denied her version completely. Both sides pointed fingers. Neither side backed down, and in that disagreement, something very dangerous happened. Doubt entered the official record, not gossip, not rumors, not online speculation, but real doubt inside a legally binding royal document. To the monarchy, doubt is not just inconvenient. It is completely unacceptable. A crack in a royal child's documentation is like a crack in the crown itself. That single change, that quiet decision to rewrite a birth certificate, was the first sign. The first clue that Archie's place in the royal system was already unstable. The first hint that the palace had serious concerns. The clock started ticking the moment that ink dried. If you're enjoying this exclusive coverage, don't forget to subscribe to Royal Report Daily for more breaking royal news and updates. And by the time Lilibet was born, the palace had already made a quiet internal choice. It would step back. Then it would step away. And eventually, it would close the door entirely. When baby Lilibet Diana arrived in June 2021, royal watchers expected the same familiar scene they had witnessed for generations. A palace statement, doctors confirming the birth, royal aides stepping forward in coordinated outfits, a sense of ceremony that said, another chapter has been written into the Windsor story. But that did not happen. Instead, the announcement came from thousands of miles away, sunny California, through a carefully polished press release. No royal trumpets, no palace balcony, no senior aides stepping forward. Not even a formal acknowledgement from Buckingham Palace beyond the bare minimum. It was as if the birth of a prince's daughter was simply a private event for a private couple. And for the monarchy, that silence was not a small thing. It was a signal. Royal births have never been ordinary events. For centuries, they have been treated like national milestones. Recorded, witnessed, verified, and placed into official archives where historians and future generations could trace the royal bloodline. But with Lilibet, the palace's hands were nowhere near the paperwork. No royal registrar, no traditional supervision, no British doctor signing anything. The crown did not take ownership of the moment. And in royal language, silence is louder than any shout. Sources say that for insiders, this was the moment they realized the palace had quietly stepped aside. Without the crown's direct involvement in the earliest documents of Lilibet's life, the royal system had no footing, no solid ground, no official tie that binds a newborn to history. It was unprecedented. A birth the monarchy did not fully claim, and in that quiet absence, the future took a very sharp turn. Now the question becomes, what pushed the palace from concerned to completely unwilling? The answer came a few months later, with a ceremony that should have permanently sealed Lilibet's place in royal history, but instead broke it. Months after Lilibet's birth, Meghan proudly shared that her daughter had been baptized in California. Photos were taken. Guests were invited. The ceremony was filled with warmth and family celebration. But inside Buckingham Palace, the reaction was completely different. According to sources, the Church of England, the very institution woven into the very foundation of the monarchy, did not recognize the baptism as official. And without the Church's recognition, the royal system has no record of the child's spiritual connection to the crown. This detail, which might seem minor to the outside world, is enormous in royal law. A royal christening is not just a religious moment. It is a seal, a formal declaration that says this child belongs to the crown. Royal clergy, royal witnesses, everything done precisely by the book. But none of that was present in California. There was no archbishop, no Church of England registrar, no royal oversight, and because of that, the baptism in the eyes of royal protocol simply did not count. This placed Lilibet in what insiders describe as a dangerous limbo, loved by her family, celebrated by her parents, but completely unrecognized by the monarchy. Instead of strengthening her position, the ceremony did the exact opposite. It weakened the ties the crown needed to formally acknowledge her as a royal heir. It introduced yet another gap, a gap that no press release, interview, or personal statement could ever fill. Two cracks now existed, one in Archie's birth documentation, one in Lilibet's christening. And as those cracks spread, the foundation of Meghan's identity and her family's future began to tremble. To understand the true weight of the palace's decision, you must understand what Meghan had built. From the moment she entered the royal world, her identity transformed completely. She wasn't just Meghan Markle anymore. She became the Duchess of Sussex, a global figure wrapped in royal prestige, royal symbolism, and royal motherhood. Her interviews, her documentaries, her podcasts, her book deals, her photo shoots, Even her newly launched lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, every single project shimmered with a faint but powerful glow of royalty. A duchess living in California, a mother raising royal children, a woman whose life carried the rare aura of both Hollywood glamour and British monarchy. But that aura only works if the royal connection is real, if the titles exist, if the institution still claims her children, if the lineage is officially recognized, because without royal heirs, the entire story changes. Instead of a modern royal escaping rigid tradition, she becomes just another celebrity couple in Montecito. Instead of a mother raising two young heirs to history, she becomes a mother raising two private American children. Instead of a duchess shaping a future dynasty, she becomes a former royal struggling to hold on to a crown she no longer wears. Sources say Meghan understood this more deeply than anyone. Her public image wasn't built on scandal or interviews or drama. It was built on heritage, and that heritage lived through Archie and Lilibet. Their titles, their status, and their place in royal history were the backbone of the entire brand she had carefully created. The reason people watched, listened, and cared. But with the palace moving to erase her children's royal identity, that backbone began to weaken. The royal shine faded. The foundation trembled. For Meghan, this wasn't just paperwork. It was an identity crisis. And for the palace, it was the beginning of a final, unavoidable step, one that would push Harry into late-night desperation and eventually remove the children from royal history altogether. By the time the cracks in Archie and Lilibet's status became impossible to ignore, Prince Harry could feel something slipping away, something deeper than any argument or misunderstanding. According to sources familiar with the private conversations, Harry began making phone calls late into the night. Not calls filled with anger, not calls filled with royal formality, but calls filled with genuine fear. Harry, the boy who grew up inside palace hallways watching guards change, hearing footsteps echo through centuries of royal tradition, now found himself standing completely on the outside, watching the doors close in front of him. And the thing hurting him most wasn't losing titles for himself. It was the thought of Archie and Lilibet losing something they never asked for, something he believed was theirs by blood. Stay tuned to Royal Report Daily for more exclusive updates on this developing story. Sources claim he begged the palace to reconsider, to rethink, to allow his children to remain part of the story, even if he no longer was. He explained that stepping back from working royal duties didn't mean stepping away from the Windsor bloodline. He believed Archie and Lilibet were still fully entitled to their place. They were still the grandchildren of a king. They still carried the same blood that runs through the House of Windsor. But the palace's response was not emotional. It was not warm. It was not sympathetic. One aide allegedly told him in the most controlled and chilling way imaginable, "This is not about emotion. This is about order, lineage, and the future of the crown." For Harry, it was like hitting a wall made of solid ice, a wall that refused to melt, a wall that reminded him that the monarchy is bigger than any individual, even a prince who once walked those same corridors as a child. And when Harry finally realized he could not change the palace's mind, something inside him broke. He wasn't just losing an argument. He was losing the very legacy he believed he could pass down to his son and daughter. A legacy now slipping quietly into silence. And that brings us to the moment the palace made its final, irreversible move. In the world of royalty, the most powerful decisions are not delivered through speeches. They are delivered on paper, in ink, in the quiet turning of pages behind palace doors. And so it happened. According to insiders, the Crown finalized the documents that officially removed Archie and Lilibet from royal identity entirely. The decision was not written in dramatic language. It was not made public with fanfare. It was written the way the monarchy prefers, quietly, confidently, and permanently. The consequences were brutal in their simplicity. No prince or princess titles, no ceremonial roles, no future royal duties, no position in the line of succession, no place in the official records that document royal heirs. Within the pages that record royal history, the same books where the names of princes and princesses live for centuries, Archie and Lilibet's names would not be written, not as heirs, not as future royals, not as part of the crown's continuing story. They would simply not exist within the institution their father was born into. And, unlike temporary punishments or paused privileges, this decision was final. No appeals, no negotiations, No room for last-minute changes. This was the palace saying, "These children do not belong to our future." The stroke of a pen had done what months of interviews, years of physical distance, and entire oceans between families could not do. It had closed the door completely. But the way the palace closed it, that is where the true strategy becomes unmistakably clear. While Harry and Meghan spent years telling their story through interviews, books, and documentaries, the palace played a completely different game. The monarchy did not argue. It did not defend itself. It did not fight back publicly or counter any specific claim. It stayed silent. Because silence in royal strategy is not weakness. It is a weapon, a shield, a way of waiting for the exact right moment to act while letting all the noise burn itself out. According to sources close to the institution, the palace watched everything from a comfortable distance. The interviews, the claims, the public moments. Without rushing, without reacting, the crown doesn't compete in public opinion battles. It plays the long game, the generational game. And when the moment was right, it made one precise, surgical move. Not directly against Meghan, not directly against Harry, but against the very foundation of their entire public identity. By stripping that away, the crown removed the one thing that made Harry and Meghan's public narrative truly royal. Without titles, there are no young heirs. Without heirs, there is no royal lineage continuing in California. Without lineage, there is no dynasty to challenge the crown's control of its own story. And in royal circles, some describe this as the palace's most calculated move of the entire decade. A quiet correction, a tightening of the boundaries, a firm reminder that the monarchy decides who carries its legacy, not the media, not public sympathy, not celebrity influence, and not even a prince who chooses to walk away. The palace did not need to speak to win this battle. It only needed to wait. Years from now, someone opens the royal archives. The giant, heavy books that hold the names of kings, queens, princes, and princesses. Books older than many countries. Books that tell the story of 1,000 years of monarchy. They turn the pages carefully. They see George, they see Charlotte, they see Louis, they see every child born and officially recognized within the Windsor line. But there is no Archie. There is no Lilibet. Because the monarchy made a deliberate, conscious choice, these children will not be part of our history. Archie and Lilibet will grow up in California, far from palace gates and royal expectations. They will laugh in the sunshine, play in the garden, and go to school like ordinary children. They will know love, family, and genuine freedom. But they will never know what it feels like to stand on a royal balcony. Never hear their names announced with titles before them. Never see their portraits hanging in Buckingham Palace. Never be written into the books that outlive time itself. Their story will be told in California homes, not in royal halls, not because of anything they did wrong, not because of any failure on their part, but because the crown decided that legacy is not built on emotion, or fame, or interviews. Legacy is built on rules, on lineage, on tradition that bends for absolutely no one. So Archie and Lilibet will be remembered as the children of Harry and Meghan, but not as the children of the crown. And that silence, the silence of their names, missing from the pages of royal history, is louder than any interview, louder than any argument, louder than any scandal that ever made the front pages. It is final, it is permanent. It is the quietest, coldest move the palace has ever made. And as this chapter closes, one truth becomes completely clear. The monarchy never raises its voice. It doesn't need to. Its silence is always the loudest sound in the room. That's all for today's breaking coverage here on Royal Report Daily. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Royal Report Daily and hit the bell icon to stay updated with the very latest royal news. We bring you the stories that truly matter, the truth behind the palace walls. Until next time, stay informed and stay connected.